So, thank you again for still being here. It's a pleasure to have here Simon Stephens and Ivo van Hove. I think I don't need to introduce them that much. Simon Stephens is a British playwright, I would say one of the most important British playwrights right now, and Ivo van Hove is a theatre director, creator, one of the most important European ones right now, and I think you have directed 2 of your plays, Simon? One?
One, I think, yeah.
Okay.
It was enough.
But they still get on well together, so that's really good. So thank you for being here, and enjoy.
Thanks, Victor. A question that I sometimes get asked, this will embarrass you, I'm going to embarrass you to start off. Okay?
Yeah.
A question that I sometimes get asked.
That's your revenge now.
Yeah, it is if I had to choose one piece of theatre, which was the best piece of theatre that I've seen, what would I choose? And I always give the same answer.
Roman tragedies.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a show that you made in 2009?
7. Yeah.
7, but I saw in 2010,
Yes.
I think, at the Barbican, 9 or 10 at the Barbican. Those of you, I don't know how many of you have seen Roman Tragedies, which has been to Barcelona.
It was in the Greg
Yeah.
Festival. Yeah, one of the first things, we did it in Avignon and in the Greg Festival in the same year. So it was the year 2008, I think.
I remember talking to my wife about it, who's not a theatre worker, and she asked me what I was doing that Sunday afternoon, and I said I was going to watch 6 hours,
Yeah.
5.5 hours of Shakespeare in Dutch without an interval. And she looked at me as though I was an insane person. It remains the best theatre that I've seen. It remains my answer to that question. Partly, Ben Brantley's phrase to describe your work as the
Maximalist
minimalist synthesizes 2 elements. One of which is
I also, when I sometimes I do it for a game.
Yeah.
How would Ivo van Hove direct it? Then you always get maximalist.
Maximalist
So
This
that's
is
what
again AI.
I would make the same production always.
Yeah.
You know?
But what I think the film captures is the scale and the force of your work, but maybe not the emotional, psychological detail, which I've always found extraordinarily shattering. I'm really honoured to be able to talk with you for an hour. I think of you as a friend. I think of you as one of the great living directors. I'm going to ask about 7 or 8 questions, and then we'll open up to the...
But he forgot his questions
I
at
forgot my
home.
questions. So I'm
Unbelievable.
But I remember them. I was thinking about the situation of the people here. So the people who've been working at the Obrador and Celebeka, on the whole, are people at the start of their working life. They're writers, playwrights, directors, actors, who are at the start of their work. They tend to be aged between 25 and 35. What were you doing when you were 25 to 35? Where were you before you joined Tenniel Group, when you were in their position?
When I was, where was I? 25. I was already in charge of a small theatre in Belgium at that moment. I'm Belgian. Everybody thinks I'm Dutch, but I'm Belgian. Yeah, but that's because I worked for a long time in Holland. And so I was in charge of I started with a small theatre of Jan and me already at the time in 1981. That we did for 3 years. Then, because we had a kind of a success, we did just 1 small production a year, because we were still studying at a certain moment. And then we made a fusion, a merge, with another small theatre in Ghent, Act Vertical. So we were called Act, and they were called Vertical, so it was Act Vertical. And that was a second, so in 85 I will have been there in Ghent.
Right.
But I only stayed there for 3 years because I don't like Ghent that much. No, it's a medieval small city with walls. For me, that's
What is it about Amsterdam that drew you to that city?
That went step by step by step. I was lucky that we started small. We went a little bit, and it grew over 10 years. And then I got this medium-sized theater as an artistic director in Eindhoven, which was perfect for me because I could still live in Antwerp, where I lived for 20 years. Could still live in Antwerp, but work with the best Dutch actors and actresses and Belgian actors and actresses, because they could just move in and out for the rehearsals every day. And that I did for 11 years. And then, because it was kind of successful there, and we became actually the challenger of what was Toneel op Amsterdam, because the press was talking more about us than about Toneel op Amsterdam.
Okay.
And therefore, meanwhile, I was also running a big kind of Greg festival, the Holland Festival it's called. So I did Zuidelijk Toneel and Holland Festival at the same time. And then Amsterdam came to me, well, just moved here. And that's how it went step by step, which I think is a good thing. That I wasn't thrown into the big theater world, too early. For instance, also the international career, I have been holding back a lot. I got invitations already in the beginning years, in the 80s, in Festival d'Automne in Paris. And I said no.
Why?
Afraid, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's just not ready for it. I felt really not ready. Also, Biennale of Venice, I remember very well. The person wanted to meet me. I forgot his name now because he was a very nice guy. He was also, I will come. It's not so important, but he invited me, come to Venice, come to look at the places, come, and I went to Venice, but then didn't make the appointment with him. I was just not ready at that moment. Right. No, and I think that it's good that I have been holding back, so that we were once it then started internationally, we were really ready for it. Yeah. To deal with the German culture, the French culture, the English culture, and then later the New York culture, which is totally different again. So it's good the way it went. It went not too fast. So it was all also, for instance, opera. I waited for a long time to do it, to really do it. And the first one I did it was Lulu Albanberg, which is kind of crazy because it's very difficult and complicated to do that, also musically. Yeah. But I knew the play very well because it was one of our first huge successes on the big stage. Yeah. That was, and that I did in Amsterdam. So that, I knew to play very well, and therefore I think, well, this I can risk, because I know the characters, I know what they want, what they don't want, I know the story, I know the inside of that play very well.
When one's starting one's working life, there can be an impatience, right? When you're in your 20s, when you're in your 30s.
I wasn't.
You were never impatient. I'm trying to think about myself at that age, and my sense that I wasn't where I wanted to be. Were you quite controlled in how you measured that
controlled,
progress?
I cannot say that I was aware that I was in control, but I think we took the right decisions at the right moment and not too early. Yeah. Because it's tempting, because it was time, but perhaps it's not so interesting here, but then you have to stop me. But in Belgium, when I was 20, theater was the worst. You didn't want to be a theater director, because it was the worst of the worst old-fashioned theater that you could imagine, in Belgium. You couldn't see anything interesting, nothing. So I was I went to the movies. I saw 6-7 movies a week, because it was cheap. It was 50, €1 now or something, That was very cheap, and it was a very good time for movies. That was the 70s, the 70s going into the 80s, a very good time for the movies. So that's what my passion was, actually.
Was that what you wanted to be? Did you want to work?
Yeah, but that was also impossible in Belgium. To make movies in Belgium. Yeah, but listen, but meanwhile we have very good movie directors also internationally, really good one. But for instance, I have a friend who is still a good friend of mine. We were together in the school, and there was a department of theater, department of movies, department of television, and something else I forgot. I was in the theater department, and he was in the movie department. Well, he is now my age. I'm not going to say how much. 66. 66, and he did make, I think, 2 or 3 movies. I did, meanwhile, I don't know, it's almost 200 plays. 200 plays? Yeah, one person counted it at a certain moment. It was, at that time it was 170 already. So, he did 2-3 movies. Yeah. He was totally frustrated, It's not. So it was also then I made the right choice, even when it was. Because I could make a difference, we could make a difference, and we made a difference. It was the time also that Therese Keersmaker started. It was they called it also the new Flemish wave. They called it, you know, the new, that's how they called it in the press, you know. And there was all people at the same time, Alain Platel, that started. We didn't know each other. The Neat Company, name it. We all started in 1980, 1981. You know, it was like it was, and we were very much influenced also. For instance, my influence in theater at that moment was not so much text theater, but was actually performance art.
Yeah.
That was my big passion, you know. So I still think I use in every production, there's always a moment that something becomes just what it is. But that's what performance art is. When Abramovich stands there with her naked, and her Ulay has this bow, that is a real bow with a real arrow, you know, so if he cannot hold it, she's dead.
And that reality is something you try and engender.
Yes,
and
but
capture
of course not in that extreme way, you know, but I like to tend in every production to go to a moment, not all the time, but it's to a moment where things are just what it is. For instance, therefore, for instance, in Roman tragedies, there is this moment that the character gets out of the theater. You know, and is followed by a so, and then you're really on the street. You never know what will happen. So that's that. Yeah. For instance, we had also another character then on the balcony of the theater in Amsterdam, just doing a whole speech to the people. I hear that somebody is doing it in London now. He has seen for sure Roman tragedies. You know who? Yeah. No, it's not.
You've got a lot of fans.
No, I call it inspired by.
Yeah.
But it's actually stolen.
When I watched this film and I've heard you and we've talked about your kind of youth and the tension between performance art and also punk rock, but heavy metal music for you as well, right? There's the vitality and the extremity of that music. It's not just in this production, but I think in a lot of your work, there's a kind of
music is very important. It's like a driving force in me. That was already in the first production that we did. Which was called Rumors. It was a text written by myself based on experiences that I had myself, and and there that ended with We Will Rock You, Queen. We're talking about 1980.
Ben Elton stole that idea as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's not true. But music was always and is always one of the first things I think when I read a play or when I am confronted with a text. Music is something that comes to me very easily.
Do you know what that is?
I just, No, but it has always been like that, so there's nothing to think about because it was always there in every production. Yeah. And now, for instance, what I'm doing now, I'm at this moment I'm artistic director of the Ruhrtiennale. That's a big festival, but it is a festival that makes new productions also. So the festival presents not things that exist already. We also do that, but also. And what I do now for the artistic director is always artistic director just for 3 years. Now it's my second year, and I developed now. Last year, I don't know P.G. Harvey, if you know this person here. Yeah. You know, so I developed. I asked Peach. I worked with her in the theater. She did 2-3 songs for a production that I did in the West End. So we knew each other, and we became friends, you could say. And then I asked her at a certain time, Polly, that's her name. Can I ask your whole catalog and choose songs from it, and I make a story out of that? But just songs. There will be not one spoken word, not one spoken sentence. And she said yes. The only condition that she had was that she wanted to know the singer, because I was going to do it with one female singer, and she wanted to know who that is. And the second thing is, send me the songs that you have selected. But then I did a tricky thing. I collected all the songs, but I put them in a totally order that was not the order of my story. So it was just all the songs. And then she immediately, within 2 hours, she mailed me, makes sense. That was, yeah, it was so short, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And then Sandra Huller, I was lucky to have Sandra Huller to be the female singer, because I knew she could sing, because we had worked together already, and knew that she made a small album of 4 songs, so I knew that she could sing. And in Peachy Harbor, Polly was immediately okay. And this, this was for me, and it was with, I don't know if you know that group La Horde, choreography, dance. They did the last Madonna tour, but they're also artistically very high level. They did the dance, Sandra, and that's a new thing for me. This year I do a production based on Frank Sinatra and Nina Simone. And next year I have again. So that's for me a new exploration at this moment. It's not opera, it's not classical music theater, it's music that's not meant to be dramatic, to be part of a drama, and I make a drama out of it. For instance, this year there's one word spoken, and that's the word goodbye.
One of the things which I've always cherished about your work is the kind of restlessness. There's a creative restlessness in it. That there's this impulse to do something which is different to the last thing you've done, and trying to push yourself forward.
Yeah, but it's not the goal on itself, because then it becomes stressful. Yeah.
I was going to go on.
No, go on, because I interrupted your questions.
No, but it looked like you were doing live thinking. It was quite exciting.
No, it would be very stressful if you really say to yourself, I have to make something different. No, I want to make things that I think are meaningful at this moment in life. And life, of course, last year was a different year from this year, from what's happening around you. And of course, theater can never, when you make large-scale theater, that's a long preparation time. And you cannot say, now I have a brilliant idea, I do Roman tragedy 6 hours and we start tomorrow. It's not possible. So that it's at least a year before you have to know that. To make it happen. So you're always a little bit behind. But that's also good, because, for instance, Age of Rage, that the war in Ukraine wasn't there yet. So I was a little bit ahead of that, for instance, because I talked about war. And then the war in Ukraine came, and it became suddenly more than relevant. So it's I'm very relaxed about choosing material, actually. It comes always. I find always something at the right moment. I don't know, but I'm very associative. When I'm on a computer and I do a research, it's very associative, because I know that I'm so rational, but I'm not so rational at all.
How do you, when you're not in rehearsal, do you have like a structure for a working day? Do you find yourself consciously looking for ideas, or are you somebody who's just completely able to take a day off and like walk the dog or go for a swim or something? Do you consciously generate new ideas if you're not in the throes of rehearsal, I guess is what I mean.
But listen, I have to admit that we prepare very well, but not in detail. For instance, I almost never prepare, except for opera sometimes, where somebody entering that's for me the moment of the rehearsal. But I prepare very well. I had a very good teacher. I had not very many good teachers when I was in this theater school in Brussels, but I had one really great teacher. He was very difficult. After 4 years of study, we had to present a production, and the person that was the professor that was responsible for this, he had chosen same time next year. I don't know if you know that play, no. The most horrible comedy that exists. And that had 7 scenes. And we were 8 students, and I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do at the end of 4 years then do this, because that's my first thing to the world, to the world, to the small world, but to the world. That something comes, this is what I am. I said, I'm not going to do same time next year, And they accepted it, that I didn't do it. I was the only one that dared to say no. And then I did Botte Strauss. I did, yeah, of course, it was at that time like the biggest, hip thing what you could do. Yeah. And I did this whole monologue, the first monologue of Gross and Klein. I don't know, big and small, probably in English. And then this teacher, this other one, came to see it. The all 7 scenes of same time next year, and then I came with Botte Strauss. Yeah. And he went home, didn't say anything. So the day after we had a lesson from him. And he said, yesterday I saw 7 times no theater, and 1 time bad theater. And it was me. I knew immediately that's me. But I'm theater anyway. Like the others were no theater. And I must say he was right. There was only one person that after the school did a few years, a few productions, but nobody else had a career. I'm the only one, that had a career. So he was right. But he was very harsh in it. I don't know why I tell this, but I wanted to say. But he told me a lesson that was for me crucial and is still crucial in my attitude, how I deal with text. Because he gave dramaturgy. That was his lesson. He was an actor himself. And he learned that you have to analyze a text. Even when there is ik hou van jou, this text, this line has to do something with the line that's coming afterwards and also with the line that was before. So you have to, there is always different possibilities of interpretation, but you have to think about different possibilities. You cannot stick only with, and he said you have to do the same with a scene. A scene has a beginning, a middle, and an end most of the time, or an open end, or whatever. But you have to analyze the text, how it's constructed, and why and what you can do with it, what you want to tell with it. So, and that's for me in what I do. I really am I'm known for my preparation, but I'm not stuck in my preparation. Okay. It's not that when an actor does something, I also look. I'm very open. I also look. And sometimes brings this a totally new idea which you haven't previewed, and you have to be open to that. But you need the baggage. I always say when I teach once in a while, because I'm not a very good teacher, I think, but this is your little baggage. That's your preparation. But you have that once you're in the rehearsal room, you have to put it there and leave it there. But it has to be in you. So I can always, I never get in trouble, not in real trouble, because I always have something in the back. Yeah. And I think I hate, that doesn't happen that much perhaps anymore, but in the time that when I started the first 10 years, how many directors said, well, this play is so bad, I think, why are you doing it? Why did you choose it? Why do you want people to come to this? Yes. Something that you hate yourself, that you think it's not a good play. Well, don't do it then. Yeah. And I always make sure that when I do something, I want to do it for 150% and not for 10%. Or, yes, I can do this, of course, but, no. And I think that's the secret, behind the success, because then you can also deal with something that doesn't become a success. Because that can also be very painful, that you really believe in something, that you work really hard on it, and then people ignore it or what you did, and sometimes they are just right, but not always. Mm-hmm.
But you can deal with it because you've committed to something that you love, regardless of its success.
Yes, and I made a very conscious decision. And also. For me, it's very important to work in the team is really a group of people, and that stay, not forever, of course, because sometimes people go on their own way. But for instance, Jan is always there. Jan Verschwijfeld for lights and set, Anders for costumes, for instance. This is a team. The 3 of us, we go back now for 15 years. Almost every production we made together, and it never gets boring because you get more critical to each other. because you can say everything, because we have done so many things, you know, like, and then you say, oh, hey, you're going to do this again, you know, it's like this, but it's never painful, because it never is personal. It's about the work.
And the more time you work with somebody, the less personal it gets.
The less personal it gets, and the more the focus is on the work.
Yes. I'm fascinated by your relationship with ensemble. It's something which doesn't happen in the UK, but you have the experience with ITA, with Toneelgroep Amsterdam, of working with a body of actors who remain largely consistent for maybe 15 years, 20 years,
20
right?
years.
What are the advantages for you of an ensemble structure?
I did it also when it didn't start in Amsterdam. It was really, it was a real ensemble. Eh?
Yeah.
It was like, we had at the best times 15, 16 actors. And a real ensemble for me is somebody that are people that are in the school, still students, you know, that just come from school, that then get 30, 40, you know, and also, for instance, when actors went on a pension, is it good English?
Yeah.
Went on a pension, I always invited them to come on and play again.
After they retired.
Yes, after they retired, you know, and they loved it, first of all, you know, and it's so important that these young people also see, you know, that Frida Pito's and Hugo Kolscher and people that still loved what they're doing, you know, and it's a different sense. What the good thing about ensemble is it's really a conversation between different generations, from 18, 19 years old until sometimes 75, 76 years old.
Yeah, it's one of the things I cherish most in theatre, that age is no hierarchy. That it's a collaboration of people regardless of their age.
Yeah.
What do you learn from returning to actors like Hans Kesting? You must, I don't know how many shows you made with Hans, who plays Agamemnon in Age of Rage. You must know, do you have the same kind of shortcuts with him as you have with Jan and Andrea, where you've known
you know each other for, that's true. That's also I think the big advantage of an ensemble, which costs of course money, because you have to pay them. Also when they're at home, you pay them. That's an ensemble, you know. And of course, you know each other very well, so you can challenge each other also. That goes back and forth. That's also towards me, you know, that they do that, and it's only good. I think you know that the person in front of you knows you very well, and that you cannot shit around.
Yeah. I've worked with directors, and I've been really fortunate to work with an array of, you know, brilliant directors, really great directors. I've worked with some directors who are frustrated with the humanness of actors, that they're frustrated that actors are kind of human beings rather than robots, because they have a very clear vision of what they want a scene to be and what they want a piece of work to be, and the humanness of an actor can really frustrate them by just not doing that. How do you live with the unpredictability of an actor?
Yeah, but I think I'm a little bit in shock of what you tell, because, you know, it's like, theater is the art of humans on stage. That's what it is about. Yeah. And they make mistakes. They can forget their text in the evening, you know, how to solve it, or they can, I once had somebody who forgot to enter, you know, because he was still in his in his dressing room, you know, and was still thinking, well, it's in half an hour or something, you know, like, so things like that. But that's, you know, if you cannot accept that, you know, why do theater? Because theater is about human beings. It's about human beings done by human beings.
Yeah.
That's the essence of it.
Yeah. I would kind of instinctively agree with you, but
names. I want names.
I would never name them, but you might have employed them at Toneelgroep Amsterdam. Why don't you ever do new plays?
I got that question also. Yeah, but you're right. I didn't do a lot of. I did one of you.
Yeah.
I didn't do a really new plays. I did modern plays, but new plays for the first time that I do something for the first time. I always say I never found, like Patrice Chéreau had Bernard like Marie Coltès, Peter Stein had Botte Strauss. You know, I never found my author.
It could have been me. But it would needed to be a Flemish or a Dutch
No,
writer.
no. I don't think so.
That was my get out clause. That why it wasn't me. It was like,
No, yeah.
I wonder if it's more to do, if it's as much to do.
But
with,
I did, for instance, a lot of movies on stage.
yeah, that's what I was going to talk
Which
about.
is kind of like for the first time, because it's when I did, except for scenes from a marriage, but all the other movies, I was the first in the world to do that, and I did a lot of them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, and that was like a premiere. That's like a world premiere, you know, because nobody has done it. Because the movie language and the theater language is totally different.
Yes.
You know, it's totally different because you cannot edit in a theater. Everything is like what we just discussed. Humans, you know, making mistakes. You know, things like that. In a movie, all the mistakes can be cut out. Can edit. I made one movie and one theater movie, but a television movie, but one movie, and then I had really a day that I didn't feel well, I didn't feel inspired, you know, and that's the terrible thing of a movie. You know, it was also a movie in Holland, which of course there is no money enough to do that, and when you have a bad day, it never comes back. In America that's different, and you do reshoots, but that was not possible in Holland. So I thought, well, this scene, and it was a scene with a lot of people, it was in a disco, you know, a lot of people there, and I felt like I'm making a mess out of it, it's terrible. That became the best scene in the movie. Why? Oh, because of the edit. You could, all the shit you could edit out of it, you know, you can make really somebody who's doing bad acting, you can pretend that he is doing good acting. Just by cutting out, that I discovered, I found this editing process fascinating.
But you've not
Yeah,
returned
really
to it.
amazing. You know, can really, out of something bad, you can make something good.
But you've not returned.
It's in theater impossible.
You've not returned to filmmaking. You must have had offers. People
No, but
must have.
it's like a mist, yeah. I hope that I have a second life. But I'm afraid it will not happen. But no, it's something, and now it's, what I find difficult with movies is that, because of course now I'm more known also in New York, and so I get a little bit more of these things coming to my side. But you know, also now I heard there is now a big movie in the make of about Prince, and then the whole shooting is done, and then they start editing, and then the producers are saying, and then there have to be new reshoots, and it's never so. It's like it takes so long. I am a little bit too how do you say that, restless, perhaps, for it. I cannot wait that long. And of course, there is a lot of people that can make movies every year, a movie every year. You know, but I could not imagine to wait for 2 years and then to make a movie, and then it's not, you have to do the it's a process I'm not looking forward to.
When I watch Two Men, and having worked with you and known you for a while, there's a sense of energy that culminates towards the live performance. It feels as though you're absolutely about constructing and delivering life in the theatre, and I can't imagine that the editing room has anywhere near the same type of energy or vitality for me.
Yeah, but at the same time, my big inspiration are movies.
Yeah.
So that's the contradiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still love, you know, last December I was in New York and I finally didn't have to rehearse it. And then I went to 7, 8, 9, 10 movies in a few days.
Wow.
All were great, you know,
Yeah.
like it was a very good season. And then I can so enjoy that.
Yeah.
The Brutalist, wow. It was like, when I saw that, like it, I think the movies also are doing very well at this moment.
Yeah. More than theatre?
I think so, I have to admit.
What's the problem with theatre?
That's the risks. For instance, the movies that I saw then in December, like also this, I'm very bad at titles. This movie with the choreography of Damien Jalette, it's like a musical almost. It was very famous.
Don't worry.
Okay. Well,
you'll remember it in about 20 minutes and shout
yeah,
out
but
the name.
it was like a form that I haven't seen before.
Right.
The Brutalist. How do you dare to make such a thing?
Yeah.
It was almost like a theater piece. You know, it was also in New York. I don't know in Europe, but it was with a real intermission.
Yes.
That you had to go out and you had to
Yes.
come back like in the theater. You know, it's like very amazing. Yeah.
But
I think they are able at this moment to think out of the box
In a
much
way that
more
theatre
than
isn't.
theatre at this moment.
and why do you think theatre's not
Because-
able to think outside the
I
box?
don't know. I really don't know. But although, yeah, I really don't know. Also, you've seen it on Broadway, eh? But on Broadway, it's like, yeah, it's now the stars running there. It's like was the
Yeah.
season of the stars.
And the ticket prices are up to $900
Yeah,
for Jake Gyllenhaal and Denzel
Yeah.
Washington.
yeah.
A lot of your recent work in New York and in London has been built around bringing celebrated actors. I wouldn't use the word celebrities, but actors who will sell tickets
Yeah.
into the theatre so they can work with you as a leading European artist. What do you feel about the notion of star casting? There's big debates in London at the moment about star casting.
What's the debate?
The debate that at the moment there's 3% of the acting population are regularly getting work, and 97% of the actors who are great actors, and we both worked with great actors who aren't celebrity actors, are just not being employed in the same way.
Yeah.
That star casting is skewering ticket prices and is taking us away from the kind of delicacy or truthfulness of a trained stage actor.
Yeah, but when I worked with stars, that have, my first question is always, did he or she did theatre already?
Sure, of course.
So I'm very hesitant to make a big production with a star that has never done theatre. I never did it actually. But the names, it's Jude Law, Bryan Cranston, Isabelle Huppert, they all did theatre. Isabelle Huppert, she's born in the theatre.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
So, and the one times I didn't, don't misunderstand me, but I'm going to not say the name, because that's not good.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a point, when you just cast a star because it's a star and he or she will bring people. Of course they will bring people, but that's not so interesting, I think. No, that's not enough. And also, most of the time it's not successful also. Because Denzel Washington, he did a lot of theatre already.
Yeah.
It's not and Gyllenhaal as well.
Yeah. What have you learned from running the Rue Triennale these last 2 years? I'm interested in, I wanted to ask you a lot of what have you learned questions, just because we're talking to people in the throes of learning. And you strike me as somebody who's still learning and continuing to learn. What have you learned from working in the Rue Triennale, this huge European 3-year festival?
Well, I got in touch with a lot of people that I hadn't worked with before. And of course, I don't work because I'm the artistic director. I invite them, and then they make the work. But of course, but because it's world premieres most of the time, or at least European premieres, or at least German premieres, it's always a place that I'm at the birth of it, together with them. So I'm listening to them. I hear how they think. It's different. It's also a lot of times other generations, like FC Bergman. I don't know if you know them here. It's a Belgian group. They are fabulous, huh? They do now, talking about Spanish, they do now production Guernica, it's called. That will open in the Rue Triennale, and it's based, of course, on the painting, but it's much more than that. But it's based on the painting of Picasso, and that's what I like. I like to hear why they do things like that. For instance, now I went to see André de Keesmaker die did the Festival d'Avignon Brel, which was and it was the reception was a little bit controversial, because she was dancing herself together with one fabulous dancer, also totally different generation. And also then we talked afterwards, and then, it's listening. Why did she make this move? What's so, that inspires me then also, not directly, but yeah. I always did that. I always loved. I think I'm a good, also as an artistic director. I was in Amsterdam, I was in Eindhoven also. I think a very good artistic director for the directors, because I don't mind that somebody makes a fantastic production that is very successful, because it helps us, it helps the company, it helps, I'm never jealous.
Yeah.
Jealousy in this, I really don't have it.
And also supportive of artists who are making shows they believe in that might not have had the same success. When I talked to a friend of ours, the British director Rob Icke, his respect for you as an intendant, as an artistic director, was born on the idea that you had faith in his work regardless of whether it was a success or not.
Yeah, because you never know, because he was totally unknown when he came. But I made sure, and that's perhaps a little secret, but it's a secret I will share, but it's also very simple. I always say, for instance, also in the Ruhr, we need one thing in the production that is well known for a large audience. Okay. One. Yeah, I don't need three, one. And with Rob Icke, I knew that he was a nobody in Holland, nobody knew his work. And then we found Oedipus, which he wanted to do. And that was the first production, if I remember well, that he did with us. And then he became immediately famous in Holland because it was a brilliant production. It's still on. It goes to Broadway now in our version. Yeah. It's our version. Not my version, but our version. Yeah. No, but I'm proud then, and it made him famous. And it's a very simple trick for an artistic director. But you need, if somebody is totally unknown, you need one factor. It can be an actor, it can be an actress, it can be the play, it can be whatever, But one thing that's really known.
I was going to ask you a question which I think I definitely know the answer to, which is, do you remain inspired by young theatre artists? Do you root for the young theatre artists? It'd be really funny if you said, no, I'm not really inspired by them at all. But do you remain inspired by a younger generation?
Yeah, and also,
In what way?
Oh, but that's not that you cannot say, because, but I still, listen, as I said, in my free time, I'm more of a movie man than as a theater man. Okay. I have to admit. So if I have a choice, I go to the movies. I'm sincere. That's the way it is. I go to the movies because that brings me the most of it. But I love to see when I hear like with Brel. Let's take Brel now because I know Anna Teresa very well because we did the West Side Story together in New York, and we worked for months and months together, and I saw immediately this is one of the most personal things she ever made. And then I'm so proud and so happy and I cannot use anything from it, but that it's not that I need to immediately do something with it, but I can really be happy in her place that she dared to do this. That she dared to be also so vulnerable and fragile on stage, which she did. Because normally she is very formal, she has this clean, but she is actually a very funny person, very naughty also, and also sometimes very dark, Right. Yeah. And everything she shows now on stage, it's fantastic. That can make me really happy. Yeah. And that's for me that's inspiration, but not like inspiration. I'm going to do this now. No, that's not how it functions with me anyway.
It's a more general inspiration, the possibilities of an artist fulfilling their...
Yeah, because you always have to do what you want to do and what you can. For instance, I just had a conversation with the boss here, and we were talking about Chekhov, and I said, well, I'm not a good Chekhov. The Chekhov is nothing for me. I did it once, and then I said, and I think there is only a few directors in the world that really can do Chekhov very well. And for me, I could immediately say which they were for me. But it's not, that was Peter Stein, not Peter Stein, it was Peter Zadek. He was actually one of the best. Jürgen Gosch, you will not know him here because he died some time ago and he never got really internationally renowned. They were the best Chekhov directors I ever have seen, But most of the Chekhov plays is nothing, I think. It's like very...
Did you see Vanya?
I didn't see her version. No, you are the best actor in the world.
Yeah, he really
That's easy.
He really, just, that's not true. You get the best actor in the world and you get to do everything.
That's not true. No, but Chekhov is really, for me, it's I don't know what it is. Chekhov, you need to play in a small space, and perhaps I'm from the big space, you know. I'm Shakespeare. I'm really Shakespeare. Not Chekhov. It's not my. I love the text. I think it's all fantastic, and when it's well done, as Peter Zadek could do, Jürgen Gosch could do, you know, also Patrice Chéreau, my hero. Yeah, but he couldn't do Chekhov. The Chekhov, I saw Platonov from him, and you know, yeah, he was also a Shakespeare kind of big things.
There's a beautiful moment in Two Men. I'm going to open up and get questions from the audience. I have to say I'm profoundly partially sighted. So if you have a question, you're going to have to like shout out or something, because I just simply won't see you. But I wanted to ask you, I got one more question which I'm going to save to the end, but a question that I wanted to ask you. There's a beautiful moment in Two Men where it's like the kind of last dress rehearsal is moving towards the previews, and you said, I'm managing problems that other people are making.
Really?
and there's part of me that thought, isn't that just what directors do? isn't that the function of the director? I guess my question is, what is the function of the director? You know, for if I talk to Ian McKellen, who's an actor I've been working with recently, you know, there's part of Ian McKellen who's just like, we don't need directors, you need actors and playwrights. So what can a director bring to a piece of theatre that Ian McKellen isn't seeing? What is the director doing apart from dealing with problems that other people are making?
And I come back to my teacher, a vision.
Yeah.
You need a vision, because a play you can do in 100 different ways. You need a vision on it, and if you know, and of course you can also do that with the group. And then we got to sit together, you know, and then we can also have there is now groups like FC Bergman. That's a group of 4 or 5 people. They do everything together, or Stan or whatever. We have a lot in Belgium of these groups. They created that idea actually, so that's also possible, you know. But then they have to create that vision on a text. And that's not so easy, you know, like when you have to start from zero on the first day.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing that a director needs to bring is a vision, and then of course also a capacity to deliver the vision within the text and through the text.
There was a conversation with Michael Billington that I watched recently when he asked you, he was quite angry about your attitude towards text, and I thought he missed the point entirely of the way you work with text. Having worked with you as a writer, I don't know if there are very few directors I know who read as carefully as you. I think you read with great care. Reading seems really central to your process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what Before I come, I never think, oh, what's in the next scene? You know, no, I know what is the next scene.
There's a beautiful moment in the documentary where Jan is arriving late he's arriving for rehearsal, and you're there, I think, with the dramaturg team, and there's kind of 4 of you sitting around a table just carefully going through the script. It's maybe not relevant for the actual drama of the film, but it seems like an element of your work that the film's missing out. That it's the minimalism as well as the maximalism, by which I mean the attention to detail. And it's the attention to detail in an actor's performance, as well as in a linguistic choice. I remember when we made Song from Far Away, I kind of want to ask you, how do you give notes? What's the best way of giving an actor notes?
Well, but that's the thing with me. No, because I used to do notes in an extreme way. Namely, when that was the time that I was in Eindhoven, the 11 years in Eindhoven, because then we were in a hotel always with the whole group, because there was the people from Amsterdam and from Belgium, but in the tech rehearsals you cannot go home. You know, that was not possible. So we stayed always then for a week and a half in a hotel together, and then we did run-throughs in the evening, and then I gave notes until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I stopped that, but drastic. And very detailed, you know, like. And then I thought that I don't know if there was an event. I don't remember that. But now I'm famous for giving no notes.
Well, famous for doing like 5-hour rehearsal days, right? You do 5-hour rehearsal days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, 11 to 4, yes.
Yeah. So 5-hour rehearsal days.
But now I'm gonna. But what's funny is, like, I worked with Bryan Cranston, Breaking Bad, in Network. We did Network, the movie on stage in England and on Broadway. And now we're going to do a play again in the fall.
Yeah.
All My Sons by Arthur Miller. Okay, we have him, and he got I got the planning from the producers, and I saw that it was let's say 8 weeks. I said, well, to Jan at home, I said, well, it's too long, you know, that's just too long, the 8 weeks, you know. But also Brian had clearly got the schedule, and he emailed me, what's happening with you? What's happening with you? What is this? It's so long, you know, like, and I immediately called the producers, and now we do the 6 weeks as always.
But how are you able to do such detailed work in such a short period of time?
Well, all the actors love it. Once they do it, they love it. I did it for the first time in London. It was very difficult with the view from the bridge.
Yeah.
2012, 14, something like that. And it was the first time I worked with English actors. And we had these days from 10 to 5 scheduled. I didn't say anything because, yes, it was my first job there, so I couldn't, you know, but Jeff James, who is now a very good director, but he was my assistant, and he said after the first day, Ivo, what's wrong? He said, well, what's wrong? I just don't want these long days. And then he went to David Land and said, well, you make Ivo very unhappy. It's going to be a very bad production if we continue with this because it's not going to work. And then we switched to 11 to 4, but then with this very small break, just half an hour break.
Yeah.
So no breaks every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So and all the actors came to me after a few, in the beginning they think, oh, it's this now, you know, because they were so used that it's 10 to 5.
Yeah.
So, and everybody came to me, Mark Strong, Nicola, you know, everybody came to me like, this is so great, we have a life apart from this, you know, in the morning, but also, and that's my condition to come to the repetition, to the rehearsal, is that you have to know your text.
Yes.
So I don't want, like what I always do, then with the book here, and then from the book, and then a little bit acting, and think, what should I do here then, you know?
Yeah, right,
so that's also a condition. So that's, you have to come, and the first thing in my rehearsals is always that we do a text rehearsal without the books there, and you have to say the text. Mark Strong, he made it extreme with the films, because on the first reading, he just, when we started reading, he closed his book. the whole, and it was the main part, he was in every scene, the whole, I said, Mark, that's not what I meant. You can do it scene by scene, because I always work chronologically also, that's also a method that I developed.
Yeah.
I didn't do that in the early days, I jumped back and forth, but now I always rehearse from the beginning to the end, so that we together discover the play and what the play can tell.
Right.
So you discover it together from the beginning to the end, as life is.
Yes.
It's actually simple.
Hearing you talk, what strikes me is actually it's the level of that preparation, the level of that work, combined with a kind of restlessness, combined with a sense of the musicality and the choreography that you're drawing from other art forms, from cinema, from live music, from dance itself, that takes you into that room, that means you can do very concentrated bursts of work. That's a really, I find that very inspiring, hearing you talk like that.
And also from the preparation, you use perhaps 60% or 50%
Yeah,
not.
right.
But that you shouldn't be bothered by that.
No, because it's scaffold. You need the scaffold to put the building up, and then you take the scaffold down.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've got terrible eyesight, I've also got no idea of how long we've been talking, but I think it's about 50 minutes, which means we've got about 15, 20 minutes. If you've got a question, can you do exaggerated gesturing, waving? So, oh, look at that, there's even lights. There's hello on the front row. That wasn't exaggerated or gestural, but I was able to see it. You're very lucky. You have a question.
Yeah, you pointed out that music is very important for you. Are you attending a lot of concerts? Are you following the music scene?
Well, I follow the music scene, but not in concerts. I used to do that, but also not a lot, not even when I was young, but that was because I didn't have the money for it. But no, I never went a lot to concerts. But music I follow, yes. I read a lot about it, and then I think, oh, and different. You know, it's not like I'm searching for, you know,
It's the associative musical collection.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then when I don't know anything, it's something, somebody not, and I think, oh, this, I'm gonna listen to it, you know, and that's how it happens. It's very improvisational.
Yeah, because you were combining Frank Sinatra and
Yeah, but for instance, Frank Sinatra was never such a hero of mine, for instance. But then I discovered, yeah, but it seems to be a discovery because he has made one forgotten album. I didn't know that, but I was reading and again searching for things, you know, and I came to this album. It's called Watertown. You really should remember because it's really fantastic. And it's made in 1970. I'm very bad at dates, but somewhere there. And it was in the same year that he made 3 albums, you know, Watertown. But before that, he had done I Did It My Way, which was a huge world success. And another one, huge world success, came afterwards. I forgot the title now. It's not so important. Watertown was forgotten. And I discovered this all later, of course. I listened to that Watertown, you know, and I think, wow, it felt like a concept album. You know, like a concept album in a time that there were no concept albums, because it's about a man that lives in Watertown, so a rural city where every house is the same. 2 kids, adolescents, and at a certain moment, a woman gets up after the breakfast. She gets up, she goes to the door, holds the door, she says goodbye. Closes the door, she goes, without any explanation. There was no quarrel, there was no adultery, there was nothing. The man is totally, and that's what the whole album is about his depression. So this music is totally not what you expect from Frank Sinatra, the big band, bravoure, but it's really very personal and very intimate. And so it's big band, but it's very reduced. So then I thought, who could be the woman that goes? And then I thought immediately actually about Nina Simone, because Nina Simone also at a certain moment in her life, Frank Sinatra never has written a song in his life, it's other people. Nina Simone has not written a lot of songs, only songs that were activistic at a certain moment in her life. It's these songs that I thought, wow, that's gonna be then her tragic, how do you say, her development then, you know, that she finds, that she becomes more and more aware of the social position that black people, and in her case, black women, have in this society, and all these really beautiful but horrible songs, Strange Fruit, it's horrible to listen. She says also, and I'm going to use that moment in one of the YouTube, she has sung it, and she says, this is the most horrible song in the world, you know, it's like, but so that's how do you tell this now?
I don't know, but I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, but
you're talking about the use of music and the associative discovery of music and how that can lead
to
ideas.
But for instance, it's Frank Sinatra never, and then I discovered this, you know, and that seems to be like a little jewel, and then I get excited when you have to get the rights, and that's a different thing. Also with Nina Simone it's a different thing, but okay, but we have them. And that's how it goes then.
and she's the one who was
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that process of associative discovery rather than kind of like rigorous pursuit of ideas. More questions for Ivo.
So it's not always music that I have to love, you know, or to like. So, for instance, heavy metal, I don't like that much. But when it's, you know, it's sometimes I think this is now needs, and then I try to find the best, the best of the best, you know. That's how it goes. So it's not always my taste that's guiding.
Yeah.
And okay. For instance, I was never such a Pink Floyd fan, but I became much more a Pink Floyd fan during the years. I was a Joni Mitchell fan, David Bowie, Joni Mitchell fan.
That's really lovely. Do we have more questions? Yes.
What is a good actor or actress for you?
Sorry?
What's a good actor or good actress?
Oh, but that's not answerable, because it is not possible, you know, because then that would mean that. How to explain this now? I know what I want to say, but I don't find the right words, because, and I don't know the English word here. It's not like, for instance, I have been teaching, and perhaps that's the best way. I've been teaching since I was very young, actually, in a school for actors in Belgium. And that was because a teacher, that was the Eminence Grise, that was the Simone Signoret, the Isabelle Huppert of her generation. She was the boss there, and she loved the theater that we made, which was totally new, what we talked about earlier on. She asked me to teach there, and she learned me everything about this. You know, like it's not like an actor, this is the goal, and an actor has to fill that up. No, you see what the embryonic capacity is of somebody, and you start to develop that in a different way, perhaps, or you show possibilities. And I think that's, so it's not like this is a good actor, you know, somebody who, it's for everybody different. Hans Kesting is a brilliant actor, but you cannot say Hans Kesting is now the way to do the acting, because that's him. That's how he is at his best, you know, and how he can move or frighten people, you know, in the auditorium. It's for everybody different. And what she also said, perhaps that's something that I use almost, that I'm aware of every day. She said, we all have, I hope the word is right in English, sub-personalities. We are not one person. We are different persons. Sounds schizophrenic, but it's not in an unhealthy way, but in a healthy way. Yeah. I'm now here very different than I was this morning at 4:30 when I got out of bed. I was a very different person when I was with my husband, you know, I was a very different man than when I'm talking here to you, you know, or when I was talking to your boss, you know, guiding me through the building, you know. You're always very different. Later on, we're going to have a drink, I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I will be different to him than I'm doing now to him. But that doesn't mean that I'm now lying, you know, I'm different. Yeah. And that's also what acting is about. You know, you have to be able to get in touch with your sub-personalities. And that's what the school should learn. The school should help you by doing that, because she didn't have, like, this is lesson 1, this is lesson 2. No. Everybody was treated in a personal way. And I think that was a big lesson for me. And I got it at a young age. That was my luck.
When I think about Andrew Scott, I think about Hans Kesting in a very, very different way. They're two very different actors, but they both have real access to all of those personalities, and access them really fearlessly, and with a real sense of playfulness as well, which I think maybe there's something in that. Do we have more questions? Yes, at the back there.
Is there a connection, just to take that, is there a connection to your interest in performance art with that? The connection between what an actor is in theater and then what a performer is in performance art?
Yeah, but performance, I don't know if I understand your question really good, but performance art is really something different, huh? You know, because there is no story. There is always an action. There is no story in it. There is no beginning, middle, and an end. We, of course, in the theater, we have most of the time, we do plays with a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's not in a performance. Well, in a performance art, it's an action. Yeah. But what was inspiring to me is that it's also art. You know, it's not if there is this famous thing that I forgot his name now. When somebody has himself, the artist has him shot in his arm by his best friend. You know, yeah. It can only happen once. He did it only once. It's not repeatable. When Abramovich is my hero in the performance art. Abramovich and Ulay went on the Chinese wall and they walked towards each other. You know, you cannot do that twice. Yeah, that's the difference. It's once in a lifetime. It's once everything most of the time. But it inspired me, you know, it's like a painting or like a movie can inspire me. I use elements of it. But my productions are not performance art. It has always kind of an element of a performance art at a certain moment. Sometimes you're not even aware of it. Okay.
Because it needs to be repeated and needs to be repeated and repeated and repeated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, in West Side Story, I had the big the rumble, it's called, in the middle of the musical, you know, and we had to rehearse that, and then I had this huge rainstorm over them. You know, that makes it for them totally different. They have to, because that's real, and there was sand, so that became mud, you know, and then they had to dance the whole thing. But that's real. That it becomes real at this. There's an element of real. It's not real, of course, because the dance is perfectly made so that everything is possible. But I don't know.
I love that. Time for one more question, then I'm going to ask you the last question, I think. Are you waving or are you using a fan? I can't quite tell. I did say I was really blind. Is there another question? The question for Ivo? Yes, 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 yes. You!
So I was wondering, when you are creating a production, when does the audience and the fact that that play is supposed to play in front of people come into the entire world? Like, I've seen some of your productions that feel very, feel like a reminder, like this is just theater. Like this is not real life, but it's very, very real. So I was wondering if you constantly use the fact that it is going to be in front of an audience.
But that's a good question. Actually, I always say I think about the audience only when we are on stage, as late as possible. I want the freedom to freak out, to go every way, you know, until that moment. So that's the moment they call it tech rehearsals. When that starts, you know, then I have to be aware: is what we think we are telling coming across? So you have to be able. It's very difficult. Not a lot of directors, not everybody can do that. I saw that because I invited a lot of guest directors, and not everybody can do that. So you have to sit back at the moment and really look at your production that you made as if you're an audience that sees it for the first time. It's really hard, you know, and then make the right decisions. I think it's also in this thing that I say we have no beginning, no middle, and no end. Is it not in there?
Yeah.
That is here, yeah. That's a confrontation with myself then. It's not that I'm angry at anybody, at myself. Like, we have to do better.
I think your energy changes when you go into tech in this film.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, but this was a huge production. It was...
But it's almost like you get a bit stiller when you're in tech.
Yeah, but that's what I'd say. You have to be... You in this whirlwind, you have to keep cool.
Yeah.
And really look at it. And challenging yourself to look at something that's not good enough. And knowing it's not good enough so you can fix it, you know? Otherwise after the... Yeah. It's really important to be a director, anyway, of big productions, you know, that you really take the time to sit back.
I think it's the same in little productions as well, right? I mean, it's a different... I think I'm aware that we're talking to people at the start of their work. I imagine there's the same quality in even quite small productions. In those productions in theatres this size, you need that clarity to be able to see it like an audience. Yeah.
But not too early. Freak out before. Go everything. But really, let it go.
You've been so generous with a young audience who are at the throes of their work. My last question was going to be, if you could tell a 30-year-old, 25-year-old Ivo van Hove one thing you've learned from this side, what would you tell?
What do you mean?
Like what do you want to tell a 25-year-old that you wish you'd known then, or a 30-year-old?
But I think No, but that will be different for everybody. Yeah. Because somebody is very adult already when he is 20 or she is 20, and somebody, you know, is still very childish and open and naive when they're 35. I don't mind. Both is possible.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. That's again. It's not because it's not this to be a good director. This is what you have to do. No. I gave a few tips, like sitting back. I think that's something actually necessary for everybody, that you dare to do that, to really look at your production as if you didn't make it, and if it's good enough. that you really think, oh, there will be an audience tomorrow, and they're sitting there. Yeah, that's the. Yeah.
I think the same with playwriting. I think it's the biggest test in playwriting, to be able to read your own play as though you've not written it.
Yeah.
And to have that kind of clarity and detachment.
Yeah.
You only get some work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
It's,
Sure.
You made my favourite piece of theatre. I'm really proud to think of you as my friend. It's been a real honour to introduce you to a theatre I really love. It's really great to have Ivo van Hove.
It was nice to be
Saturday
here.
night.
And you have the building is. I got a tour. You know, the building is fantastic, and also the way that it's kept a little bit how it was. You know, but also became a little bit of our time. The place downstairs, the big cafe, you call it, you know, it's like very good for the neighborhood that everybody can see through, because otherwise you have only these small windows. I think it's a wonderful atmosphere in this building. So congratulations for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ivo van Hove.
Thank you.